let us begin.
Welcome to
Talking with the Thompsons.
We're so happy that you decided to join us today on this rainy Sunday here in Northeast Pennsylvania. We are so happy to have you. And what is our topic this week?
I believe our topic is going to be about marriage, isn't it?
It is.
Marriage. A big one, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it definitely is a big one.
It's going to be focused on getting married young. That's what I want to focus on.
Should we get married young or should we get married old?
I don't know.
Or maybe happy medium.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's dig in and find out.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So, I guess I will start a little bit here by talking about our personal experience because we met when I was 18 years old and we got married, I believe I was 23 when we got married.
Yes, you should be able to get around 23.
Yeah, so I was 23 when we got married. So I was with Andre since I was 18 years old, and then we got married when I was 23. So almost obviously my entire 20s was spent with him, and then almost my entire 20s was spent married.
Yes.
And in his case, we met when he was 20 years old.
Yes, about to be 21.
About to be 21.
Yeah.
And we got married, I believe, when you were 26?
Yeah, about there.
25, 26. So, again,
Who was tracking how old we were?
he was, majority of his 20s was spent with me. Yeah, all of your 20s were spent
all of your
with me.
20s, yes.
You only had a few months of your 20s to yourself before you met me, So I said all of that to kind of tie it back into our perspective, aligned with God's perspective on marriage and on getting married young. It's a topic that comes up a lot. People have asked me before, do you regret spending your whole 20s, being in a relationship and being married? Do you regret settling down so quickly?
Yes.
Do you wish you got to do more things? And all these other type of questions that I'm sure make sense to some people, but to me it doesn't, because I'm like, I feel like my life gained when we got together. So I don't feel like I missed out on anything. As a matter of fact, I feel like I got to enjoy everything even more, and I got to enjoy it with you.
Of course, yes. Of course there we go. When people ask me the question, because a few times people have asked me the same question, and I know there's a bad stigma in marriage for most people, not everyone, and even for myself, I had a bad stigma in marriage. But it's not because marriage does not work. It wasn't because marriage is not a good thing to be in. It's because marriage was misrepresented by people who weren't prepared.
Yes.
So I never understood what true marriage was. So I was basing my feelings, my approach, and my perspective on other people's experience who did it wrong, approached it wrong, and quite frankly, weren't committed.
Right.
And that is a big thing. That's why we want to have this conversation today, so we can talk about not only the appropriate time to be married. I believe you can get married at any time in your life, but there's times that are best in our life for us to get married. And there's times that things do happen, but it's not too late to do so. What are the fundamental foundation of a good marriage based on what we're capable of providing?
Right.
Because a lot of times people bring things to the table that we can't physically provide. But the good thing about God is that He gave us all that we need within ourselves to be able to provide what we need in marriage.
Yes, amen. I will say, we'll talk a little bit about getting married young and God's principles and why we feel that is important. But I want to kind of start this process here by saying that the most important thing that you and I did in order to have a successful relationship so far, be successfully in love for the last 13 years, married for 8, with no intention of stopping anytime soon. How we got there is the foundation of we committed 100% right away.
Yes, commitment, key.
So I want you to talk a little bit on commitment and committing 100% to the relationship, especially from a guy's perspective. I think it's super important.
Yes, I mean, I believe the first thing you want to think about before you want to get married is, am I ready to commit myself to someone 100%? The biggest thing that people have is that a marriage is 50-50. No, Your portion in a marriage is 50-50, but really a marriage is 100 and 100. 100% of you provides 50% of the marriage. And you have to be in a position where you realize, or they say to yourself, I'm willing to give 100% of who I am. I'm not trying to reserve some of myself for something else. I'm not trying to approach this marriage hoping it's what I want, but in the back of my mind, thinking it might be something better or something greater out there. You have to be completely sold on the fact that I'm ready to give myself for this marriage. And it's not necessarily just a person, but it's for the marriage.
Yes.
That when you guys come together, you guys are creating a new covenant, a new entity of life that involves both of you guys.
Right.
So commitment is essential. I believe people underestimate the value of commitment and not realize that we say a lot of things break marriages, but a lot of times what happens is inconsistency with commitment.
Right.
Some people are committed in the middle. Some people are committed in the beginning. Some people get committed after the marriage is broken.
Right.
And also not only committed, but some people commit to the wrong thing. They commit to the wedding. They commit to the idea of what a marriage look like. They commit to what someone else has as a vision that they're trying to accomplish, but not commit to the act of saying, I want to commit to this marriage as this marriage unfolds. And like a plant or like a seed that's going to turn to a plant, my commitment is that I'm going to take ownership of it. I'm going to give myself to it. And every day as I give myself to it, it's like water to a seed that's in the right soil. And it will consistently grow. And then we start to see what it blossoms into, what it grows into, and what fruits it bears.
Yes. But actually, I appreciate all the information about marriage. I want to go a little bit back before marriage, because we started dating when we were 18 and 20 years old. And I kind of want to talk about, because we were seriously committed. It didn't take marriage for us to become seriously committed. So I want to kind of talk about that, because before you even get to the point of marriage, there's a certain level of commitment that is required in order to have a foundation to go into the marriage.
That is true.
So I kind of want to, I was hoping you would talk a little bit about that too. So we talked a little bit about the commitment in marriage, but let's talk about the before marriage commitment and what happens there.
I'll get behind the scenes footage.
Yes.
I think what I say about commitment, it refers to marriage, but commitment has to be something that you're willing to give from the beginning. And take marriage off the table for a second. It's about relationship. And I believe when we met at a stage where we were willing to be 100% committed to each other. So before we even got married, we're all in. And I believe that the first thing, I think what happens is that in our society, we're taught to be a little selfish, self-centered, become independent, secure ourselves first over anyone else. And that stemmed from inconsistency with other humans' behavior when it comes to betrayal, when it comes to people being dishonest, people being narcissistic themselves. So it's hard to really get into that frame of mind, but what you want to get into is to understand that before you go into any relationship, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to give myself to it? Because what we had in the beginning was love. Before there was marriage, we had love.
Yes.
And love is the ability for us to say, I'm giving myself to it, not just things to it. And in the beginning, we decide, well, we're going to give ourselves to each other 100%. And the good thing about that is that both of us did it at the same time.
Yes.
And that's the difficulty.
That was a key component.
That is the key component. Is that you want to be in a position where you're fully committed, but you want to make sure you choose a partner that is compatible and is also committed as you're committed. Not partially committed, but fully committed.
I completely agree. I want to say also, when it comes to the commitment piece, you are responsible, not only, but you are responsible for your commitment.
Yes.
It's a decision, it's a choice. Every single day you decide, I'm going to, even though the grass might be greener on the other side, people always say, or there might be someone who is prettier or funnier or smarter or more handsome or has a better body or whatever the case may be, I'm committing to this person because this is my person, and I'm choosing every day to commit to this person, no matter what else happens. And Andre and I are huge on, people always say, well, I don't want to say people always say, but people have said to us, have you wondered if the grass is greener on the other side? Haven't people asked you that about our marriage? And we're like,
very frequently. Yeah,
and I'm like, no, the grass is greener where you maintain it and you care for it. Because wherever you go, if you are the problem, if you're toxic, the grass is going to be brown. So you're going to destroy everybody along the way with you.
course.
But if you take care of your grass, your yard, your garden, if you actually, plant your seeds and speak positivity into it, because they say when you speak life into plants, they grow. You know what I mean? So speak into your relationship. Treat your relationship as a garden. You need to tend to it every single day, every day. It needs to be watered. It needs to have sunlight. It needs to have something in order. If you want something to grow out of it, if you want something beautiful to come from it, there is a certain amount of decisions that you have to make and choices that you have to make and commitment that you have to make to those decisions and to those choices every single day. And it's something that I see us lacking a lot, especially in our generation. And we're teaching the generations coming up behind us that they don't have to commit to anything, let alone to each other or to someone else. And that is a problem. That's a huge problem for relationships, for marriages, for God's kingdom, but also for our society as well.
Yes, I completely agree. That we focus on what could happen or what the possibilities are in something that's not guaranteed by neglecting what we have in our hands. And you said something essential. This analogy we use all the time. The grass is not green on the other side is how they use it, but most people live their life looking at the fact that the grass may be greener on the other side. But the truth is you have grass right here. What makes the grass green is a grass that's well taken care of.
Right.
So if you have the ability to take care of this grass, you have the ability to create, to commit to and take care of this relationship, you can make this relationship what you want it to be. And where people miss the mark is that they misunderstand vision from sight.
Right.
Now, vision is what you see that something can become. Sight is what it is.
Yes.
Most of us have a vision of what we want in our relationship, but we treat it like it's a sight and then treat it as if, well, it's not living up to the standard of what it should be. No, that's a vision. That means that we have now a template of what we're aiming for. And right now, our sight is giving us an understanding of where we are. Now, between what we want it to be and where it is, the shortest distance is a straight line. So together we have to discuss and say, listen, we appreciate where we come, what we have created, what we have committed to, who we are as individuals. But how can we work together to bring this from here to what we envision? Right. And that is how we make the grass green where we are.
Right. I think it also goes back to you have a patch of grass, right? So why are you, if you are seeing someone else's grass as green, you don't know what it's taking for them to maintain that. No. But you're putting no work or effort into your grass, but you want to go get grass that looks like somebody else's who's putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort and praying every day and speaking life into their grass every day and watering it and tending to it and checking on it. And when they're away from it, they're thinking about it to make sure that it's taken care of. And it's the first thing that they think about when they're making a decision to make sure, right? That is how your marriage should be treated. And you want somebody else's marriage, but you're not willing to put in the commitment that they put into it. And that is the problem.
It is. That is why most people, what happens is that they're in a relationship or a marriage and that relationship breaks up and they go to someone else to find themselves in the same problem.
Right.
Because
the problem's internal.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's decisions on the person's end that need to change.
There's a difference between vision and sight. And the goal is, if you are given something, you have to make it your number one priority. That's the thing about relationships, especially about marriage. It has to be your number one priority. And how you make your marriage or your relationship your number one priority is, am I willing to give myself to it? That means that I sacrifice my preference for what's beneficial for the relationship.
Yes.
And I define myself based on the relationship. Many of us are in a relationship trying to redefine ourselves as individuals.
Yes.
But especially in a marriage relationship is that you don't want to define yourself as individuals, you want to define yourself as one.
Yes.
That's what God instructs us to do. So you have to now redefine yourself when you get into a marriage or when you get to a relationship that should be leading towards a marriage, that we have to now become one.
Yes.
It's no more
together,
me and
we
you.
We move together, we do everything
us.
Together. Yes.
Yes. And that is the first step.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would say the maybe this is something that we should consider doing like a workshop with.
We definitely should.
Yeah, I really do think that we should consider that. So if that's something you guys might be interested in, let us know, because that's something I'm really thinking, like maybe we should put together like tools and resources, maybe even like a roadmap to a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, a prosperous one, a committed one. So maybe that's something that we'll pray on it, and you guys let us know if that's something you're interested in. And,
I agree.
And we'll talk about that. But for today, I will leave you with a tool, and I'm going to ask you to leave them with a tool, but I'll go first since I'm putting you on the spot with that. And I thought about my tool first.
Okay, go right ahead.
So my tool that I'm leaving with you guys, and my resource for your relationship, whether you're single and you're interested in dating and getting into a relationship, or you're in a committed relationship, you're engaged or you're married, doesn't matter along the way, any part in there, single to married, anything in between, I want to say my tool and my resource is make sure that every decision that you make, you're making with integrity and you're making with genuinity. That is the best thing that you can do for your relationship and for your life.
Yes.
So you become a better person by doing that, just doing it in every aspect, but you also become a better 50% of the relationship.
Yes.
You become a better half, and that is what we're looking for. We're looking for a better half, and that's what you want to become for your spouse, and your spouse should be your better half.
Yes.
Should be equal with that.
I completely
So my
agree.
tool is decisions, choices, make sure they are genuine and they are pure and they're intentional.
Yeah, that integrity.
Yes.
In addition to what she's saying, what I would like to add to that is understand that you have to value what you have, and how you value what you have. My analogy is I've never really been around someone who became successful and someone consciously asked them, do you miss being broke? Do you miss not knowing and not being smart? Do you miss failing when you pass a test? And the reason why we don't ask those questions is because we understand that the position that they're in is valuable, so they're not missing anything. They're on the better side of it. And when we look at our relationships, when we come together, we decide that we're going to give ourselves to each other when it comes to commitment, we have to value it enough to realize that I'm not looking beyond it because this right here is valuable enough.
Yes.
Me being here is where I'm supposed to be, and it will make me the best version of myself. So I'm committed to it. Now, there's instances that it's not living up to the standards you want it to live, or things are not going the way you want it to go, but that's fine because I value it so much. I'm willing to do the work to get it where it needs to be. So my tool to you is value who you have in your life 100%, and stop looking for something that might be out there that is more valuable, because there's nothing more valuable than what you have in your hands.
I completely agree. And I like that you said that, because Andre does say, and he has said in the past, does Bill Gates miss being poor? Does he, on bad days when things are rough and he has a lot of decisions to make and there's a lot of different chaotic things going on and he feels very overwhelmed and stressed out, do you think he says, man, if only I was poor right now, I wouldn't have to deal with this? No, never that happens. That doesn't happen. He doesn't think that because he knows the value of what he has, and he knows that it's worth the work and the effort that he's putting in.
Yes.
And even on the bad days, it's worth it. On the good days, it's even more worth it. And that's how you're supposed to treat your marriage. Treat your marriage far above what you would treat money. But
Yes.
I'm just using that as a comparison because
Point of reference.
you have said that in the past as an analogy. Does Bill Gates miss being broke? No. So why would I miss my life before my husband came in and made it rich and enriched my life and encouraged my life and brought my life out of this sad and dark place that it was? Why would I miss my life before that? I won't ever.
Yes, I completely agree. So first, what you said. Second, value. Value that relationship. Evaluate your values.
Yes.
Look at a relationship and say, do I value this relationship high enough? And then address that. And I guarantee you, when you address the value, you start to address your commitment automatically.
So 2 tools. Decisions with integrity.
Yes.
And intention.
Yes.
And valuing not only yourself, but who God put in your life for you.
Yes.
Value them. So those are the 2 resources we're going to leave you with today. But we are going to pray on the possibility of more information and more workshops and more tools and resources coming your way, if that's what God leads. So we'll pray on that and we'll go from there.
We definitely will. And please do reach out to us if you have questions. Do leave your comments. And do think about these things, even if you're a person who is already in a marriage or a person who's thinking about or getting in a position to become married.
Yes. definitely valuable. And I'm going to close out. I wrote down something that you said, and I'm going to close out with
okay.
it. He said 100% of who you are makes up 50% of your marriage or your relationship.
Yes.
So giving 100% of who you are is your portion of the relationship. So you have to do that. So I guess that's tool number 3, because he gave that earlier. So giving 100%, committing 100%, that's tool number 3 we'll close out with here.
We definitely will. We definitely will. How you gonna put something that good out now? I can't even say nothing because we got to close. But that's good, though. I won't say too much.
Yes.
Next time
we'll put a pin in it, and next time we'll go more in.
Yeah, we definitely will. All right.
I appreciate you guys joining us today.
Thank you for joining us. We're talking with the Thompsons. We'll see you and talk to you next time.
Yes. And if you're interested in getting daily updates, daily scriptures, daily information about our lives, or just even behind the scenes information, feel free to follow either one of us. He's on Facebook at facebook.com/ARThompson20. He's also on Instagram at ARThompson2020.
Yes.
So you can find him there. I am on Facebook, just Rose Thompson. It's just a personal page, but you're welcome to friend request me. And then on Instagram, I have a more set up page there where you can follow me at a blooming rose 1. So I will tag all of that in this video as well, so that you can go and follow us and just keep up with us, and you'll be able to learn more when we're ready to do the next portion of this workshop as well.
Yes, we will.
Yes. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. Any final thoughts?
We already gave like 3 final thoughts,
Yeah,
so let's bombard them with more.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. We love doing this, and we love spending time with you guys, and we love marriage, and we love each other.
Yes,
and we love God most importantly. So.
Yes, we definitely do. We have a rich life, thank to God, and we want to make sure that you have a rich life.
Yes.
So definitely invest in yourself by investing in the decisions that you make and the knowledge that you receive. All right, so we see you next time. Again, we're talking with the Thompsons. Bye-bye.